G'day music fans, Mark here from AustralianMusicHistory.com. I've got a real treat for you today. I'm live in the kitchen with the great man himself, Barry Leef. We'll talk more about the kitchen later, but for the time being, thanks for having me at your place, Baz.
It's all right, mate. It's great to see you again.
It is. It's starting to become a bit of a habit.
Yeah.
I mentioned the kitchen. We got to know each other. I'll just go into it very briefly.
Yeah.
Probably going up to 6 years ago, around about when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Where we started work on a project called Cooking with Baz,
Yeah.
which had a lot to do with music. You're a lifelong musician and also a dab hand in the kitchen, I must say. So that's the significance of the kitchen. And I'll show some snippets of the stuff we do as we're talking. Okay, I want to go back to the start. You're a lifelong musician. When did you first pick up an instrument?
It was a tennis racket, actually.
A tennis racket.
Because it had a similar shape to a guitar, you know.
Yep.
No, I think it was sort of back home, if viewers aren't sure, I'm from New Zealand. And back in the day when the explosion of Elvis Presley happened, everyone, was blown away by this sort of music, rockabilly or rock and roll or something, which was really unusual, but so into it, we all got into it. So I wanted to be like him. So I wanted to learn an instrument and sing.
Yep.
Even though, when I first started, I wouldn't say I had a great voice or anything, but that's how you got to start.
Absolutely.
And so the first thing was a ukulele at 9 years of age.
Yep.
I formed a band at my intermediate school called Bohally Intermediate, and we all had ukuleles and side drums from one guy who used to work in a pipe band, so he had a side drum, and a guy with a T-chess bass.
Wow.
One string, and you just hold it down, and it's not really in tune with anything, but it sounds like a bass. So that's how it all started. There was a couple of teachers at the school who were so supportive, of kids getting into music and wanting to play instruments and stuff. So it really got me fired up, it was fantastic. And I came from a town called Blenheim, where there was a Come to Blenheim Association, where they have stalls in the town hall and they put on a talent quest. And they had talent quests all the time. So you'd go into a talent quest and never won anything. I think I got third and won after just persistence. And so that's how we got the bug. I got the bug, and then I knew that was going to be what I wanted to do. I mean, even back in the day when I went on to high school and they were saying, okay, now we need to talk about your vocation. And I said, I want to be a musician. And they go, oh yeah, that's good. But that's a hobby, you can do that in your spare time. But what would you really like to do? I said, no, I want to be a musician. So I stuck to it, and then went through high school, and then I obviously graduated to a guitar, graduated to more serious musicians in the town, ended up with a band, and we worked in Blenheim for doing local dances and stuff like that. And then from there, we ended up, I went to Wellington, which is across the Cook Strait, and worked in a place called Todd Motors to earn money to buy real gear and to get real people to play with.
Yeah.
And that's when I started a band called The Simple Image. We were very lucky. All the guys were basically from Todd Motors where I was working. So we started rehearsing, ended up doing a few gigs until someone came along, a guy called Tom McDonald, who was at an agency, and said, oh, you guys, would you like to join the agency? I can get you quite a bit of work. I can get you maybe weddings, maybe some private parties, blah, blah, blah. And that's how it all started. And eventually we started to get quite a bit of work through the agency. And of course, then we were sort of in situations where we might get asked to go on a show and as a backing band and tour, which was mega for us. We were just babies.
Yeah.
And there was one time we did a gig with a sort of a pop star, King's pop star in New Zealand, and his name was Lee Grant.
Right.
And we went and toured with him, and we did a couple of gigs with him. And in the audience was his record producer And after the gig, the producer said, "Would you like to record?" And we went, "Yippee." And so we started recording. He was providing us with material, but he was a very clever producer. He could tell what we had. We had a lot of vocals. We had 3 guys singing, 2 guitars, 1 bass, drums. That was it.
Yep.
And we did a lot of harmony stuff back in the day. And he could see that we had a potential to do some pretty interesting things vocally. He had all these ideas about songs we were going to do and its arrangements. We followed along with it because why wouldn't you? It was a great opportunity. And we ended up with quite a few hits. Ended up with one song that went to number 1 called Spinning, Spinning, Spinning. So we were on our way by then. We were in a van touring the country, and we did that for 4 years. And the band, it was a fantastic band. We starved on odd occasions. We had the odd blues, but nothing very serious at all, and just got on so well. But we started to get moving. Everyone started to get a musical idea of what they wanted to do.
Right.
So, and I was really serious about R&B, American R&B and English sort of 70s, like, guys like Steve Winwood and guys like that I really dug where they were at. And I wanted to do that. Whereas a couple of the other guys wanted to do more the club scene and blah, 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 blah.
And in those days, how big was the music scene in New Zealand?
It was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of bands touring the country. A lot of bands doing well, like it was very healthy.
Excellent.
Yeah, really good. So then I said, well, we were down in Christchurch at a place called The Scene, and we were watching a band called Retaliation. And I said to my guys, I said, look, do you mind if we swap roles? Get this guy to sing with a simple image, and I want to join the Retaliation, because they didn't know, but we'd been talking about it, and we were wanting to go to Melbourne. The guys agreed. So we basically swapped bands. And then it was weeks later that Retaliation took off to Melbourne.
So you came over with the band, wasn't just yourself?
Yeah, and that was in '69.
And what were your first thoughts of Australia when you got here?
Well, it was, an opportunity. It was like, it was just a bigger country.
Yeah.
It was more happening. There was big clubs, and they were, subsidised by poker machines, and that was nothing like that in New Zealand at that time.
Yeah.
And so the money was better. There were a lot of gigs at that time, because we're talking, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the best thing to do. So, but it was sort of interesting, because the style of music we were doing was more, sort of Wilson Pickett, guys like that, and a little bit of Traffic or Steve Winwood, that sort of material. And it didn't really go down very well in Melbourne. Melbourne was more like a pub rock town. Yeah. So we were a bit sort of disappointed until someone let us know that we should be in Sydney, because at that time it was Vietnam and it was GI's R&R in Sydney.
Right.
So it was the perfect sort of situation for us. Basically, to make a long story short, is that we ended up jumping on a train and coming up to Sydney, booked into the Plaza Hotel in King's Cross, ended up getting gigs in small venues like the Groovy Room and various others, and thought, oh, this is rock and roll heaven. This is the music we want to play, and this is the music they want to hear. So it was a perfect situation. And I just thought, well, this is where I want to be. Plus the fact that later the Simple Image came over to Sydney, and they got a cruisy gig called Whisky A Go Go in William Street.
Yep.
Really good money, 6 nights a week, 8:30 till 3 in the morning, 20 on, 20 off.
That's something that, in talking to you previously, intrigues me, that the whole concept of these really long residencies where the same band played every night, all night, essentially. That's something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
When I started in music in the 80s, a residency was when somebody booked you once a week for 4 weeks or something. You know what I mean? Oh, wow, we've got 4 gigs.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, you know, what was it, 6 nights a week, 7 nights a
Yeah,
week?
6 nights a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So how long would you be doing a show like that?
we were there for a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah. It was the best situation ever for anybody that's wanted to learn more, wanted to learn about what they were doing, wanted to learn how you were going, how you were progressing, you just wanted to get better and better. And it was the best way to learn, best way to, you know, do something wrong one night, fix it the next,
Yeah.
and it was just brilliant. It's like, I know it's hard these days because you don't have residencies anymore, but in those days, they were popular.
You wouldn't have been able to get out to see much other music though?
One night off wasn't, really,
Yeah.
you know, but it was a good time. It was like, the networking with everybody was fantastic because
Yeah.
even when we were doing 8:30 till 3 in the morning, we would sometimes do a gig during the day. So there
Okay.
was so much work. It was crazy. It was really good. I really learned so much in that time,
You would.
as a
Yeah.
singer and as
You
a
would.
player.
It's just so intensive, I suppose,
Mm.
and it just condenses down.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
days you get a couple of gigs a week, you're doing well.
yeah,
It takes a lot longer to establish yourself and that sort of thing. So
yeah. Just the fact that camaraderie too, and
yeah,
the 6 nights a week playing with each other, and just that whole interaction, you just can't get that now. I mean, it's you know, jumping way forward is that we might do 2 gigs a month, and you got to start rehearsing yourself a week before because you haven't done it for weeks.
yeah, true.
So I feel for a lot of the musicians these days because you know as you said, the residency sort of type gigs just don't happen anymore. It's a
Yeah,
shame because I think I think it would still work if the players were a good band, if they really knew what they were doing and they knew how to make an audience grow by repetition of
yeah,
gigs.
yeah,
I think it would still work, but just attitudes have changed. Well, let's face it. Back in those days, there was no mobile phones. There was no stadiums weren't being packed watching rugby league matches. Everyone was out to listen to music and dance and do all that sort of stuff. So, but that changed over the years.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So,
that's it.
so many other things took over.
There's a lot more competition
Yeah,
for the punter these
yeah,
days,
that's right.
even from staying home and
Yeah.
watching it on TV.
Well, that's the other thing
You
too.
know,
Yeah,
in those days, I suppose the only way you could see that music was to go out live and see the players live.
yeah,
So a couple of years at the Whisky.
yeah. So
Where did you head from there?
that's when I started doing jingles.
A lot of people may not have seen you play
Yeah,
or know much about you,
yeah,
but they've heard your voice.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
did what, thousands of ads and jingles and
Yeah,
that
well, it
sort of
was
thing.
it was a fabulous way to earn a good living. Therefore, just to digress a bit, that meant that doing gigs became once a week or twice a week, if
Yeah,
because you weren't in a residency anymore. You were going out doing other gigs.
yeah,
Um, this is after Whiskey finished.
yeah,
But so there's still gigs going on, but the Vietnam War was over. The Yanks weren't coming in anymore. It made a big difference to the Cross, how many gigs there were. There weren't as many anymore. So the session work was wonderful. Took a while to get into the group.
How do you break into a scene
Yeah.
like that?
Well,
What was your break as such?
well, the good thing was that due to being regularly playing in one venue 6 nights a week, people would come in and out, producers and guys like that would come and go, oh, I like your voice. I think I can use you on a Coke ad, or I've got this coming up. Do you want to come in and do a demo? So that's how it all started. Just start off by doing demos, and some go final, and all of a sudden they put you in a box because they say, well, this is this sort of sound. This is a Barry Leef sound, and we can use that in a lot of ads. So it's easy for them then. They just go, yeah, well, that'll suit Barry, so we'll get him. So, yeah, we ended up doing that, even to the point where I would say I'm available 3 days a week. And so that we'd cram it all into 3 days, and the other 4 days I'd go fishing in my boat.
That's not a bad lifestyle for a musician.
I know. And you go out fishing on a Friday night and get back in after midday and get ready for a gig on the Friday night. So it was just an amazing time. It really was. So much work and really good. Just really, you had to really sort of seriously, work on that sort of, in that sort of vein, in the session vein,
Yeah.
because it was like time meant money. So when you came to the gig, they would give you a quick rundown on what the song is. By then the backing track's probably down. They'd run you through it a couple of times, and you got to go out there and you got to nail it. So you had to really be switched on, and I liked that. It was really exciting,
Yeah.
and it was good because I tended to get more the gigs that were popular songs with altered lyrics.
Yep.
So they'd use "Hooked on a Feeling" for a chicken ad or something, and I loved that because that was my genre. That was what I loved. I loved all that stuff, So I got a lot of those really good gigs that were popular songs but turned into an ad, and they work. Oh, they did work then.
You were still gigging, you said, like just a couple of nights a week?
Yeah.
Is that the sort of musicians club period?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I was, just to butt in a little bit, I was aware of you a long time before I met you.
Yeah.
Because of the stuff I do with music history.
Yeah.
I'd spend a lot of time going through old gig guides and that sort of thing. And this Barry Leef band kept popping up at the musicians club. Now, I have to admit, I never went to the musicians club. I don't know how I missed it, but I never went. But I could see this name popping up 2 or 3 nights a week, every week. I thought, wow, that was a hard audience. That was other musicians, and we know what they can be like.
Yeah.
So that speaks volumes for you. And I had an impression in my mind of this guy has to be professional to be doing the work he's doing. Tell me a bit about the Musicians Club.
That was basically a mate of mine called Ian Couch, who was a really wonderful supporter of me and my band, and became sort of a manager and sound engineer. And it was sort of after Whisky, and then we decided, well, we could still do a residency somewhere else. So we went hunting and we found the Musicians Club. And there was not a lot going on there. There was a fantastic room on the first floor. And so we went and spoke to the secretary manager and said, we'd like to, how do you feel if we came in and did a Friday night? We'll take the door. You guys will take the food and the drinks and all that. And he went for it. So that's how it all started. So we did the Friday night. At that time, that was sort of 70s. That was sort of, we'd got to mid-70s, mid-late 70s. It was before like full-on disco, full-on house music, all that sort of stuff. It was more sort of, it was still the 70s music, So it was like the Doobies, Boss Gags, and people just loved it. And I don't know, we must have sort of got onto it a bit early because we did the Friday. It became so successful. Then we decided, do you mind if we do the Saturday? And he said, no, we're loving it, because the club hadn't been doing that well until we came along. So we started doing the Saturday, and it eventually went Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow.
And we were doing 4 nights a week with a guy. It was a pretty good setup with a guy called Leon Berger, a Russian piano player, singer. And he'd start the night off, and then we'd come on around midnight. So it was a full-on dance-a-thon,
Yeah.
And because it was a beautiful big stage, great dance floor. It could hold about 400 people. And we were doing that, pretty well most nights. So that was brilliant. And that was about 77 to 79. So we did 2 years, got to sort of 4 nights a week which was great. Here we are again in another residency, And then 79, I felt I had to go overseas and find myself,
Okay.
work out where I'm at, So I took off to America for about 11 months and lived in LA for about 8 months, and then moved to New York after that. But it was just a sort of a trip to see all the greatest musicians I'd ever wanted to see live.
Yep.
And small clubs, and like you can see amazing musicians in small clubs. I learned a lot, I learned a lot by doing that as well. And I did find myself, and I realized I didn't want to live there.
Okay.
You know,
Were you gigging there, or was it
not much. No, I wasn't. I did a couple of sessions, but I wouldn't say that I really gigged there.
Yeah.
Yeah. LA, then New York, and then I came back, and we did another 2 years when I got back, and we went back into the Musos Club.
Wow.
With slightly different players and a slightly different repertoire. A bit more upmarket, funky, George Dukey, sort of that sort of thing. So that was that part.
And who were some of the players that were with you at that time in the band?
In the first band, we had a variety of different people, but the main band was Steve Housen, that later on went to LRB. Harry Bruce, who's on bass, who was probably, is probably one of the most busiest bass players in the country.
Yeah.
Still is.
Still.
And Sunil De Silva.
Yep.
Sunil was from Sri Lanka. He was playing drums. And we had a guy called Samila Sitol, who was from South Africa. He was on percussion. And and we were doing Boss Gags, Pablo Cruz, I think, just Santana, all that sort of stuff then. And then when I came back from America, we were doing George Duke. We'd sort of gone in another area.
You brought back some influence.
Yeah, brought back quite a bit of influence from being there. That went well for us, but you could see times were changing, So we'd done
already.
It was about over that whole period of Musicians Club was 2 years, and then 1 year away, another 2 years after. So about a 5-year period. So things were starting to change. Disco was getting more and more popular. House music was moving in some venues, and you could tell it was going to change. And maybe I should just digress to the last 2 years in Musicians Club was a pretty interesting band. A guy called Rex Bullen on keyboards. He was fantastic. And drums were Mark Kennedy.
Mark Kennedy, thank you.
So I'll say that again. Mark Kennedy on drums. Brian Hamilton from Adelaide, bass player. There was the guitar player was a Kiwi guy that I'd originally came to Melbourne in retaliation, and he'd come back to Australia. So, and his name was Phil Pritchard. It was a hell of a band. Around about that time, I got a call from Jim Kelly and Mick Kenny, who were in a band called Crossfire. And I thought, wow, Crossfire. I mean, they were like a sort of a, what would you call it? Avant-garde jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz rock. But I loved them because they were incredible players, And I thought, oh, why are you calling me? And he go, oh, we want to do a few vocals, want to do a few vocals. Oh, okay, all right. But it wasn't actually a Crossfire gig. It was a Connexion gig, which was Jim Kelly's band. And Jim opened up doing Sunday nights at the All Nations Club.
Yep.
And it was really it was fantastic because they wanted to do Al Jarreau, James Ingram, really cool stuff, And I just fell in love with the idea. And so we started doing Sundays under the name of Connexion. And that was with Mick Kenny in the band. So Connexion got very popular. Mick Kenny was a genius with arrangements, and he decided to put together a band called Supermarket, which was a 14-piece band, similar material to what we were doing, but with an added 5-piece horn section and 3 girl singers and myself.
Wow.
So it was 14-piece.
That's ambitious, 14-piece band, even in those days.
Yeah. And we just went to see Chris Richards at the basement and said, look, we've got this 14-piece band. We want to gig, And he put us on, and we ended up doing about 3 years regularly playing at the basement with Supermarket. So that was brilliant. And working with Jim and Mick Kenny and all the other guys who were fabulous. It was a great time.
I've seen some clips of both Connection and Supermarket on shows like the Midday Show.
Yeah.
And it was a Don Lane late night show or something along those lines.
Yeah.
How influential were shows like that for musicians? But that's sort of putting you out to a whole new audience, you would think.
I think it worked well for us in terms of, PRing and the easy way by being on television often.
Yeah.
People picked up on it, and we got a lot of bookings out of those shows anyway. So we were flying around in small planes to do corporate gigs.
Wow.
Like back in those days, people had corporate gigs were the ones you wanted to get because they had real money.
Yes.
And you could fly to Bangkok and stay there for 10 days and do one gig, and it paid for itself,
Wow.
It was some brilliant stuff.
And how long did Supermarket last?
The first lot of Supermarket was probably about 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Back in the early 80s. Yeah, I think it was around about 83 through to about 87, I think it was. So it was a brilliant time. It was, once again, how lucky can you be,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you were still doing ads and that sort of thing at this time?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, still doing ads.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, for people who are involved in the music industry today would find it hard to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, different time.
Yeah. Well, see, now I'm working with Pete Northcote with our West Coast show. And Pete was like, and he could vouch for the amount of work we were doing back in those days because he was like the top-notch guitar player because he had all the gear, had all the sounds, had all the guitars, and he was doing 3 or 4 gigs a day, and I was probably not far behind,
Wow.
So it was amazing. And of course they weren't, you'd be in one studio for an hour or two, and then you'd say, "Oh, I've got to go. I've got another gig." So and then over the bridge into another studio, blah blah blah. It's like it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned Peter. That's one of the things I've noticed about you, getting to know you a little bit over the last few years, is how many musicians are from those times and you're still together playing now, still good friends, still getting on well, and still playing beautifully. That's just such a joy.
Yeah.
We'll get into the cooking with that stuff later, but to come and record with you guys, it's unusual that, how can I put it without being rude to people? Musicians can be a precious lot, and long-term relationships aren't always the norm. If I put it that way, there's a lot of times where you say, "Oh yeah, used to play with so and so back in the '80s."
Yeah.
Prick, Whereas the core of musicians you've gathered around you, it's a credit to all of you that you're all very talented, easy to get on with. And yeah, like I said, it's an absolute credit to you to gather that sort of group around you and to still be doing it all these years later.
Yeah, it's
guys like Victor Rounds and Peter Northcote.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a credit to you guys.
Yeah.
To have formed such lasting relationships, and I suppose it's been beneficial musically to you all. To be able to call on people like that. To play at the drop of a hat is something pretty special.
It is really. There's a lot to be said for growing older.
Absolutely. It's better than the alternative, Barry.
In terms of getting on with people, And of course, we've worked together off and on with different things, like because Victor was in Supermarket.
Yeah, of course,
as well. So yeah, we go back a long way. It wasn't until I started working with Pete, and we were just doing a Sunday afternoon gig at the whatever that pub's called in Victoria Road. But that's how Pete and I got together, really.
Oh, really?
We'd done here and there, but it wasn't sort of like we hadn't really, got together and really worked together
Yeah.
until then. And it was a wonderful thing for me because he really spurred me on because I was starting to get a little bit tired,
Yeah.
and I think sort of it gave me a new lease of life when I met up with Pete because he was so enthusiastic
Yeah, he is.
and I just loved his playing and I thought I got to work with Pete more often and it just gradually became that way. And of course Victor and Hamish, because I'd worked with Hamish years ago, and then Bill Risby, I'd worked with him years ago, and these are people I just love. They were just lovely people,
Yeah.
really, really cool people,
Yeah.
and incredibly talented. And luckily for me, they thought I was similar, so it all worked out pretty well,
Brilliant.
Yeah, and we've stuck together all this whole time, So it's been a long time, and I would work with other people, but why would I if they're available, to do the gigs? They know me backwards. I mean, they know what I'm going to do. If I'm going to do something unusual, um, they know, Then here he goes. He's going to go. He's going to go somewhere else because we come from that sort of genre of don't try and play the song the same every night.
Yes.
Try and be a bit more, dangerous.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And that's the way you learn so much about that spontaneity. Like, yeah,
Yes.
I don't want to do this now. I'm gonna change now. I'm gonna go here.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be the same as you played it last night. And people used to get really get a laugh out of it. Because it was almost like, oh well, you're gonna go somewhere, and I'll follow, or you're gonna go somewhere, and I'm going to see if I can catch you.
That's one of the things I like most of all about recording with you guys is that it is largely off the cuff.
Mm,
It's not necessarily rehearsed.
mm,
I mean, you run through the songs a
yeah,
couple of times,
yeah,
but that's not what I would consider
yeah,
rehearsal.
yeah,
So there's always an element of flying by the seat of your pants.
yeah.
And it's been instructive to watch how you lead that.
Mm,
You know, there's little signals
mm,
that you can give,
mm,
which means like we're going to the solo or your solo's finished.
mm,
Come back to me.
yeah,
Those sorts of things.
mm,
Yeah, it's obviously you're a comfortable group working
yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Well, it is comfortable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not frightening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, Pete and I have joined forces in a West Coast rock show.
Yep.
And we love doing it. And our audience loves it because no one's basically doing the era that we're doing. We're basically doing what we've always done, but with with vision, with videos, with all sorts of things going on. So it's a real entertaining show.
Yeah.
And our audience loves it.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough to have seen the show, and it's good that you're going out with the big band, like 6-piece, but that's considered a big band these days in terms of budget.
Yeah.
And as you say, with the visuals and that sort of thing, and it's a really slick show. It's a credit to you all, and again comes back to this guys that are really comfortable playing with each other. Nobody's treading on anyone's toes.
Just generally overall, we've sort of said, working bands, session work kept us alive, stayed together as mates, and I think it's really important, if we're ever going to help anyone, is that you've got to work with people that you respect.
Absolutely do.
And if there's full respect, there's no problems.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. And that's the way it should be, because then it's musically respectful,
Well, that's beautifully put. Yeah.
So, that's really such a joy to even be saying, it's my job,
Yeah.
because and it's funny because I keep thinking when the teachers were saying, but what are you going to do for a real job? I've stuck to my guns, and now I'm doing what I said I wanted to do when I was 15 years of age,
What would you say to someone, a young person, who said that to you today? I want to be a musician. What advice is that still possible? Is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that when I meet young players and they're really outward expressing the way they feel. And my question is, how passionate are you? You
Yeah.
know, um, and if I get the right answer, I go, mate, the world's your oyster. You just got to go for it.
Yeah.
But I think you have to also be realistic on that it's not a short-term thing. It's a long-term
Yeah.
arrangement. But the long term is such a great thing because you enjoy every moment of that long term.
Yeah.
Short term's sometimes not great because there'll be a lot of downers.
Yeah.
So that's my advice anyway.
Yeah.
And be patient, because you got to learn so much.
There is a
It's,
lot
it's
to
it's
learn.
like it's like being a psychiatrist. Yeah,
You do it with some personality, that's for sure.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
but it's a wonderful thing, that interaction with players.
Yeah.
There's some that you go, oh, this is not going to work,
Yeah.
you know, and you just stay away. You don't say anything. You just don't ring them anymore.
All right. Well, we might touch on cooking with
Yeah,
Baz.
yeah,
Like I said in the very beginning, that's how we came to meet.
mm,
I had met you once or twice before at the Sunday afternoon regular
yeah,
gig,
yeah.
and was always impressed. But when COVID hit, which was what, February,
Do you think,
February 2020 from memory,
was it? Yeah,
I
sounds
got a
right.
call from our mutual mate, George Sitch,
Yeah,
who is also a huge part of this project.
yeah,
Basically, to say Barry wants to do something, he's not
mm,
100% sure what it is
mm,
yet,
yeah,
but we want to do something so we're not, if this thing goes for a while,
yeah,
we're not forgotten about.
yeah,
It wasn't a money making venture
yeah,
or anything like that. And I was keen as mustard from the word go.
mm,
Now, what we did originally was done in isolation, and there was a lot of people doing it,
yeah,
but very few persevered.
yeah,
And you were lucky enough to be able to call on, again, this great family of musicians, guys
mm,
like Victor Rounds and
yeah,
Peter Northcote, and Lloyd G
yeah,
in the beginning on drums, and then Billy Handley. And you were recording here in the kitchen,
yeah,
um, doing some cooking. It was a combination
yeah,
cooking and music show, all recorded in
yeah,
isolation
yeah,
and all mixed and edited and stitched together by the
yeah.
wonderful
I don't know
George
how I
Sitch.
don't know how we did it, to be
Oh,
honest.
it was
It's like,
it was impressive. And I think I said this to you guys once or twice. I think the original concept didn't really catch on, but we were enjoying it.
yeah,
So
yeah. I know that's right.
we were
Yeah,
enjoying doing the
yeah,
process. So it kept us locked together long enough
yeah,
to find out what people did want to hear.
mm,
And it was the music. We were trying to do too much in the
yeah,
beginning, and that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Well, that was George. George was responsible for putting the idea in my head
Well, there
because
you go.
before that, I used to see George and Tina reasonably regularly at the gig on the Sunday
Yeah,
at the Bridge, and we used to love to go out and have dinner somewhere
yeah,
after the gig. So it was always about food then, and so when COVID hit and it was sort of like we were stuck here in the house and no one could come here, we couldn't go anywhere. It was quite seriously not a good look. And he suggested, well, why don't you do cook some meals? Because he knew that I like to cook.
yeah,
So he thought, well, this might work if cook a meal in your kitchen, put with your mobile phone, change it around the room, and blah blah blah, and then do an acoustic couple of songs, and we'll try to put something together. And I think that's when you became involved,
yeah.
and that's how it all started. But it was hard work. It was like
It was a huge amount of
It
work.
was like,
But luckily, there
yeah,
was nothing else to do at the
I know.
time.
Well, luckily that's right.
Yeah.
So,
But it has grown now.
mm,
Real credit to you that, again, you've stuck at it
mm,
and that you've got this wonderful group of musicians
mm,
that you can call on. Just come down to my place
yeah.
and we'll record some stuff.
I love it because they love coming, and I think it's more that they get a feed after.
And that's been part of it. I was going
That's
to
right.
mention that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not just about the music. That's the hot and sweaty
It's
bit.
like it's like a musical lunch.
Yeah, yeah. And you always cook us up a
Yeah,
nice feast
yeah,
for the end of the day that the guys can just sit around,
yeah,
talk stories from the old
yeah,
times, which is why I wanted to come and talk to you, because
yeah,
whenever we're together
yeah,
with that group of guys,
yeah,
the stories come out,
yeah.
and those
That's right.
stories need to be recorded
Yeah,
and put away for posterity.
yeah,
Like you're talking about doing 6 and 7 night
yeah.
a week residencies. That doesn't exist
No,
anymore.
no,
So
no.
if we don't tell people about it,
Yeah,
they won't know.
yeah,
The YouTube channel has gone very well.
yeah,
We've built up an audience now that's mainly in the US.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's been a big learning experience for all of us,
mm,
I think, but it's still doing well.
yeah,
And hopefully we can carry on
yeah,
doing it until we don't feel like it anymore.
yeah. Well, everyone's keen. Everyone's no one ever has said, "Oh, I'm a bit too busy," which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So we just work out a date and we all get together, and I send out a list of songs that we may do the lot or some or blah blah blah, and everyone does their homework. And we get here and they know what we're doing, but we're just we're throwing ourselves over into the deep end by saying, well, okay, let's see if we can nail it,
Yeah.
under this environment,
Yeah. And it's not an easy environment to work in.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
small. It's not a recording studio.
yeah,
It's someone's house.
yeah,
So again, full credit
mm,
to the guys for
yeah,
adapting, and there's no ego.
yeah,
Nobody's
No.
saying I'm not
no,
bloody recording in your kitchen, mate. You
no,
know,
no.
it's part of the deal,
Yeah.
and it's a lot
Well,
of
it's
fun.
a pretty good kitchen, thanks to my gorgeous wife,
It's-
Susie.
It's a lovely kitchen.
She handed over the reins. I love her for that. She's gorgeous. Yeah, so
You do like to cook.
yeah, I do. I like cooking because it's the same as music. It's preparation, presentation, and an end result.
There you go. I hadn't made the link.
Yeah, it's the same thing because it's fun to begin, and it's fun to see it done, and then fun to eat it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful way
yeah.
to look at it.
I just feel like I'm really so lucky, that all these years of never been out of work. I must be honest, I've driven a few trucks on the odd occasion,
Yeah.
but that was mainly to earn some extra money if we were doing an album situation or whatever. But just so lucky, and to have all these wonderful people around me that I respect and I love them, and it's so easy, nothing's difficult, so lucky, yeah, to be in the music game.
To be in the music game. Not many people say that these days, but yeah, it's very, very true.
Yeah,
All right, Baz, we might finish on that.
yeah,
If that's absolutely beautiful. I really appreciate you speaking
cool,
to me
man.
today.
No, it's a pleasure.
You allow me to come and make a mess in your house every now and then with thousands of cables and
Yeah.
stands and leads.
Yeah,
And yeah, I always appreciate the hospitality, and
yeah,
we have good times.
yeah. I suppose, in the future we could probably do a special on the arrangement and how it's set up and all that.
I've been meaning to do it. It's one of
Yeah,
those things
yeah.
I've been meaning to do for a
Because
long
it is
time.
quite unique. I mean, I think.
I think it is too.
Yeah,
There's other people doing similar things, but not with the same restrictions
Yeah, yeah,
that we
Yeah.
place on ourselves.
yeah,
When you know how hard it can be to get a result,
yeah,
and then to get the result,
yeah,
it makes you pretty proud.
yeah.
All right, Baz. Thank you very much. Much
Thanks, mate.
appreciated.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
wonderful. See you, mate.